At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce our presiding officer, Colonel Ferris.
You'll get your turn. All right, so for any of y'all that have ever been to a retirement ceremony before, this is not the typical retirement ceremony. This is a little atypical. That's all right. You want to get in the screen? You want to get in the screen?
It's atypical.
Yeah, so we'll get there.
Oh, okay.
You probably want to see yourself later on. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a little bit of an atypical ceremony, but that's all right. Sergeant Khabir here is a little atypical, a little bit of an atypical personality. Well, all right. So typically, right, the presiding officer would, give this long speech about, hey, your 22 years of service, right, and all of that, right. But that's not what Sergeant Khabir wants, right. He wants something quick. Despite the fact that he talks to everybody and talks all the time, right, he is a relatively humble guy. He doesn't want the spotlight on him. All right, so instead of going through a long history of his career, I'll just say that over the course of 22 years, right, he's been all over the world, whether it's Lodges or Spain, right, or Japan, Korea, time in Andrews, Middle East, Germany, right? He's been all over the world. And wherever he's gone, he always has a smile on his face, right? And he'll talk to anybody and everybody that will listen. Well, so thank you for your 22 years of service. You will be missed. All right.
Thank you, Colonel Ferris. And now the medal presentation.
Publish the order.
Attention to orders. Master Sergeant Hamza A. Khabir distinguished himself in the performance of outstanding service to the United States as a Superintendent of Investigations and Anti-Terrorism, 569th United States Forces Police Squadron, 86th Mission Support Group, 86th Airlift Wing, Volgaway, Germany. During this period, Sergeant Khabir led the busiest investigation section of the United States Air Force, where his team of 7 American and German detectives meticulously partnered with Polizei to safeguard 56,000 status of forces agreement personnel assigned to Germany. Sergeant Khabir revamped the Wing Disciplinary Control Review Board process, developed a new operating instruction for local business complaints and off-limit establishments. Additionally, as flight chief, Sergeant Khabir led a joint service flight of 40 personnel to conduct the command's most tested law enforcement mission. His leadership was evident in managing 80 vehicle accidents, 12 driving under the influence responses, 35 larcenies, and 4 domestic assaults. His efforts were instrumental in ensuring the efficiency of joint patrols tasked with protecting 250,000 personnel covering a 1.1 thousand square mile off-base patrol zone. Finally, Sergeant Khabir led the response to a sudden infant death syndrome case. He coordinated with 6 agencies and provided parents with comfort and ensured the Wing's care for families line of effort was met. The singular distinctive accomplishments of Master Sergeant Khabir accumulate a distinguished career in service of his country and reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. On to the retirement portion of the ceremony.
Publish the order.
Attention to order. Special order number AC000827. This is to certify that Master Sergeant Hamza A. Khabir has served faithfully and honorably and will retire from the United States Air Force on the first day of September 2021. Signed, Honorable John P. Roth, Secretary, United States Air Force. The floor is yours.
I want to thank everybody for showing up. I really appreciate it. I'll be remiss. I'm on an unaccompanied tour, so my wife and my daughter couldn't be here. I will tell you, she is the real hero. If she was here, I would have got her a Legion of Merit Award because I will tell you, the one thing about the military is if you marry the wrong person, it could be a long time. That's a true statement. I respond to many incidents where that person didn't marry the right person, and they'll find that their career can be heavily affected. She always holds me down. I think that so often we focus on the mission, but those who take care of the mission. So if you could be here, I'll give you some flowers and stuff, and take it easy on the AMX right now because I'm not there, and we got to work some other stuff. That wasn't for y'all. My she's 8. She's shy. The reason I did an unaccompanied tour is because if I didn't do an unaccompanied tour, I had to do 3 years here. I would be retiring right now, so you do what you gotta do just to get by. You know, the commander did talk about, you know, this is my 10th assignment, not counting deployments and PCAs and all other intra stuff. I found that, you know, for me, moving always helps me. When I was growing up, I went to 8 different high schools in 12 years. I mean, 8 different schools in 12 years. Moving feels normal to me. Staying at one place actually is the issue for me. I'm like, it's time to go. Because the beauty thing about being overseas is if you don't like somebody, you got a D-roast. You're like, it's easy to put up with people if you know I ain't got to deal with them that much longer. But you're in the stateside, it could be years, you're just like, oh God. So, I will tell you, the good thing about the Air Force is that their colors are blue. Blue always looked good on me, so I was always set up for success from day one. I was like, the colors matter, you know, because I was like, man, you know, blue is a power color for me, either light blue, dark blue, so blue always brings out my eyes too. I don't know if y'all noticed that. I know. And I always look good in uniform too. I did, like I don't know, it's my thing. I always liked the idea of wearing a uniform. Actually, I brought this here. I was a little nostalgic these last few days about what to say, about what security forces means to me. And you know, it always takes you back to the first day I got my first one. This hasn't been shaped or anything. But I think about what this means to me. And I joined when I was 17 years old. I was 17 years and 2 months. My mom had to sign the paper because I wasn't 18 yet. And I actually joined when I was in the summer of the 11th grade, going to 12th grade, because I knew I wasn't going to college. Where I came from, if you wasn't going to college, there was different choices for you. One of them was the illegal route. I was not a great athlete, so therefore, I was like, I actually worked at a Domino's Pizza right across from a recruiter station, and it happened to be the Air Force. If it had been the Marines, I would have been a Marine right now. I'm like a proximity person. I'm thinking like, man, it must be a sign. Air Force recruiters right next to Domino's Pizza where I worked at. I went in and talked to them one day. They showed me this real cool video of security forces. The guy was like, coming from a helicopter, and it was like, ATVs. And I was like, yes. I went to MEPS, I said, I want to work outside. And it's like, we got something for you. I left for the military 2 weeks after I graduated high school. As a kid, didn't know anything. But I do know one thing about the military, that when I first joined, it was a limited liability contract. You don't know what you're signing up for. And then you get to a place where there's rules and restrictions. And I'm not used to that, you know. I'm used to doing whatever I wanted to do before I came into the military. So I was like, I got to be in at 10 o'clock. I was out, when I was 12, out to midnight. That's another story. Mom don't listen to that part. She knew, but she didn't know. Anyway, so it was hard for me to conform initially to the military. The fact that I made it this far, if you're wondering how I made it this far, I do wonder as well. I do think about, like, you know, when it comes to a lot of the things about the military that makes people successful, the characteristics, the attributes, and I realized I don't have a lot of them. But what I always did have was I was always teachable. I was always ready to learn. And when I messed up, I was always sorry. You know, I never would try making excuses and say, I don't know. I just say, I'm sorry. And it always worked out for me. I think, taking it back to this parade, you know, I would say there's a lot of jobs in the Air Force, and I think I've seen most of them in action, whether it be intel, whether it be maintenance, whether it be personnel. Any job I think of, medical, I couldn't see myself in that job. Like, I could not see myself in any job besides security forces. 2 reasons, and I think about this. I was like, the greatest thing about security forces is some people, they need a job where they can go home and say, hey, I put 8 boxes on the shelf, and I have some accomplishment. Like, they need to have some physical, tangible. Well, I don't need that. What I really enjoy about security forces is I can talk to people. We can sit on post for 12 hours, and we can talk about alien invasions, space, and we can talk about anything from the whole gambit. And everything is all, and that's what I enjoy. I enjoy that. We're also keeping the base safe too, you know. And what makes security forces so successful is we're never where we're supposed to be. So the bad guy can never plan anything to do with us. Because if you're supposed to be in the patrol sector, you ain't there, and the bad guy knows, man, where is he gonna be at today? You can't get us. And I just enjoy the camaraderie. You know, I remember when I did get my beret, I remember shaping it, forming it. I think I had all the pride in the world. It's like they couldn't tell me nothing. It was like the first time I really felt like I accomplished something. I wouldn't put high school in there. The only reason I graduated high school was because of the Air Force. I was actually failing my senior year, and the teacher asked me, she said, "What are you gonna do with your life?" And I was like, "I'm going to the Air Force." And she said, "Well, since you want to do something with your life, I'm gonna pass you." And that meant a lot to me at the time because I really had a really bad work ethic when it came to school. And so I have a lot to owe to the Air Force. Some people say that we serve the country, and I agree with that. But every time someone says to me, it feels weird because I feel like the Air Force has served me, personally. Like, I feel it has served me. I am 40 years old, and the 17-year-old kid who joined is like, who are you? I think about it a lot. I think about the world as it expanded towards me. I think about the cultural, America's called the melting pot, and I think about the military is that like the bottom of the pot, that little cauldron where the hottest part is at, because you will get so much. At tech school, I was with the shoe crew. The shoe crew, you remember that? You still got that? The shoe liner. I was a shoe liner, and my bunkmate was like the bad guy. His name was Bratcher, and he had never saw a black person before in his life. In person. And all he knew was MTV, and he thought I could rap and dance. That's what he thought about me, and I was just like, I can't. I could rap a little, but I was like, but the cultural divide was so crazy. I knew nothing about him. He was from Tennessee. I knew nothing about Tennessee. By the time I was out of there, I was listening to Metallica. I can boot, scoot, boogie. Yes, I can. I know. And put it on afterwards. Yeah, I can. I know. Don't get me out here. Anyway, but I think about that, and I think about how I've grown culturally. I think about how I've grown just as an individual. I was thinking about some of the issues. I've noticed, like when it comes to, I usually don't pay attention to what goes on in the world. I find that with the military, it keeps you pretty busy. You don't really focus on things in the world because it's like, hey, what does the military even do? I'm a very tunnel vision person. I can do like one thing at a time, maybe one impossible, but I can't do too many things. That's not my skill set. That's why if you're talking to me, you're talking to me. I'm not doing nothing else. I have no plan, no agenda, no schedule. If it was 20 minutes, it could be 3 hours later because that's all I planned on doing was talking. And I'm learning. And so, what I found about being a flight chief, it fits my personality very well. I'll go out and do a post check, and I'm just out there like we gotta do this blotter review. And you're like, you gotta do this blotter review. And you're like, oh man, we have this great conversation. Hey, we'll finish that tomorrow. And engaging people, I find that, one of the things, I was thinking about what it will be like to be a civilian again. Like to be out in not in the military. And, as I was thinking about it, I was like, I'm gonna go on leave and I don't have to come back. And that still feels weird to me. Like I won't have to come back anymore. And I'm like, I'm still circling through that process of what does that mean? I have to find something to do with my life. And I was like, oh, interesting. It was really good that I got to work in investigations because I got to wear civilian clothes a little early. Shout out, Chief. I got to work, and it was crazy. Like I would wake up and I'd be like, what am I wearing today? Does this match this? And I had this bad habit of getting dressed before I knew what the weather was. So I would go outside and I'd be like, this isn't appropriate. So and I'd be like, I don't know, because with a uniform, I don't know what the weather is. You put that on every day, cold, rain, sleet, and I thought part of the process for me was helping me really transition. I think about, the lessons that I've learned, things that will have set me up for success, and things that have really resonated with me over the time. I think that the people that I've met, the leaders that I've met, I mean, truly remarkable. A leader invests in people. A leader sees you as an investment, and they invest in you. Their time, their energy. You know, people that invited me to their house on Thanksgiving when I was in a foreign country and I had nowhere to go. I have people I talked to today, you know, officers enlisted, who really just embraced me, you know, especially when you're a young troop overseas, you don't have a lot of support. And I remember it was my first base. I was at Andrews for 6 years, and I could drive home every weekend. So it wasn't like a far thing. My first time going to Korea, I got homesick. Like 6 years in the military, I just started missing my mom. I was just like, man, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And it was just people who would just be like, all right, this is normal feeling. It's normal to be homesick. And then I would say, teachable moments for me has always been, I've always been ready to learn from anybody. My third base, I had never sat in a patrol car before. I had done no patrol for my first 7 years. Because my first 6 years, I was at Andrews doing presidential entry control. I went to Korea, I did information security. My third base, I had no patrol experience. I went there, I told the flight chief, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Up front, I'm not gonna here try to BS you, I don't know what I'm doing. And there was an A1C who taught me how to be a patrol. Even though I was a staff sergeant, I sit there and that A1C, because he knew more than me, and I find a lot of times in the military we think just because we have a higher rank that we are supposed to know everything. And one thing that's always helped me is if I don't know something, I'm gonna be like, hey, come over here and show me what I'm doing. And over time, you know, I got confident enough I didn't want anybody to help me. I wanted to know what I was doing. So when I got to a new base, that's kind of the reason why PCS so much, because I would go there like a genius. They'd be like, oh, this is your 8th base? Oh, I got this. What y'all doing over here? All right, boom, boom, boom. So that's always helped me, is to be teachable. And I think that when it comes to setting yourself up for success, you know, in the military, we're very rank-oriented. We're very culturally structured. But I think what sets you up for success is being teachable no matter what your rank is. Whether it's a new tech sergeant. You got the results yet?
We've been going around.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Whether it's a new tech, I saw the promotion percentage. Whether it's a new tech sergeant and you're about to be a mass sergeant or whatever your rank is, it's just being teachable. And I will say that for me, taking advantage of what the Air Force has really allowed. I think that I joined the military because I didn't want to go to college. It's not that I didn't want to go, I couldn't go if I wanted to because my grades were like trash. I couldn't have made it to community college. But I found that, you know, I was doing a feedback with I was a staff sergeant, and I was doing a feedback with an airman, and on the feedback it says education on there. I was like, hey, make sure you're going to school. You know, I'm not going to school. I was like, hey, make sure you're going to school. And he's like, I already got my CCAF, A1C, and I'm just sitting there like a staff sergeant, like, oh, like, maybe I should be quiet. But that challenged me, because I was in 6 years, had not taken one class, and that A1C had a CCAF, and I was like, man, I'm not gonna be a good leader if I don't even know what that is. So I was like, man, you know, let me educate myself. And I think that when it comes to, you know, education, you know, your rank they can take from you. They can, and they've tried. But they can't take what you know. What you know is yours, and that can't be taken from you. And I would just encourage you, if you do go, just do what you like to do. Like if you go into school, do what you will really enjoy. Because if you enjoy it, when you don't want to do it, you'll still do it. If you're going just to check a box, just to say, hey, I wit, it's not going to really, when you don't feel like doing it, it won't really be as pushing you through. And I think that to me has been really helped me when it comes to communication, problem solving, when it comes to, you know, being an example. Because I think so often, you know, we think that I'm only going to school so I can be what the Air Force wants me to be, so I can get that promotion line bullet, so I can make that statement, so I can, but it's like, no, that's not what it's about. It's about being in an environment of continuous learning. Because I do find that with our job, it can get monotonous. You can become complacent because it's like, man, I have another post again, what am I doing? And it's like, I think the advent of online education has been awesome. I will say that, one of the things that I was thinking about is going back home, and I think about, this last year of my life, COVID aside, has been the hardest year of my life. I've had many nights where I couldn't sleep, and one thing about me is I'm vulnerable. Like, I will tell you how I feel. And I think you can't have a conversation with somebody and get information without vulnerability. That's, I think, one of the things I look at society, and I think everybody's getting so entrenched. I got my talking point, you got your talking point, and I'm not gonna back down, but I'm vulnerable. I'll tell you, I wanna hear what you have to say. Like, I wanna hear what you have to say. And I think when it comes to me, I've always been vulnerable because you're gonna know how I feel. You're gonna know what I think. And to hear my truth, you don't really get a choice, but in some instances, it's a two-way thing sometimes. My favorite thing is like, hey, I'm gonna do the talking. I need you to listen, but don't say nothing until I'm done. I did that before. Anybody done that before? You brief and truth, you like, hey, like, you think we're having a dialogue right now, but this is not a dialogue. It's a one-way conversation. That's what, it's older school thing. I think now it's like, tell me how you feel. I don't know if that's the thing. It's like, hey, what's going on? How you feeling? It's like, anyway, the reason I bring this up is because I feel like, culturally, the military, we are a subsection of society, and we're set apart from that society. But the things that are happening in society do affect us. And the reason that, this last year has been so tough for me is because as I think about going into society, I've been trying to psychologically prepare myself for that. Like, what is it gonna be like to be out there? And I'm gonna realize that, that what I've learned in security forces, I learned that I want to share that. Like, I want to share our culture. Like, when it comes to policing, I believe that we do it the best. And it's not because we have better training than anybody else. It's because if we do the wrong thing, we all know what's gonna happen to us. I pulled out my gun 3 times in 22 years. And I think that every time I've done it, I was like, well, if I have to shoot this person, I'm gonna know what's going on. And I like that about us. There's been times where I went on scenes and crashed into a gate, a drunk driver crashed into a gate, and our security force mentality, we're so like, let me go find out what's wrong with this individual. Let me go render aid. Nobody got their gun out. I'm thinking it's a threat. I'm thinking somebody just crashed through the gate barrier. We need to go out here and put, bullets on the car in case he comes out acting crazy. But we're in that mentality, and I really enjoy that. And I look about some of the things that I've been trying to do lately. For those who don't know, I did start an organization called Lear, because I do believe that a lot of the things that we do here will translate over well to the civilian side. And it's an educational thing that I've learned. Because the one thing about knowledge is that it produces contrast. And the more you know, the more contrast you get. You say, how do you get this result? What theories am I using? What type of processes are going into play? What is this process, and how do you dissect that process to understand how to get a better result? And I think that's something that the military has taught me how to do, how to be analytical, how to look at a process from beginning to end, start to finish, and say, we do it this way because of this reason. And that's something that I really believe that is so necessary, because I do see a lot of issues, that I look at things sometimes from a strategic perspective. I look at things from our adversaries. Like, how would our adversary take advantage of this union in our country? I think about that. I stay up nights thinking about that. I think about the divisions. I think, like, how could a foreign adversary use the strife in our country to cause us to fight each other? I think about that kind of stuff. It keeps me up at night, and I think about it because I understand that when I took this oath to defend the Constitution, I took it serious. I really meant it, and I see threats to our country. I see threats, and I try to share with people my concerns, because I talk to a lot of people, one thing about security forces is that a lot of people get out and become police officers. I talk to police officers almost every day. Most of my friends are police officers. I literally have this network of people who I talk to. And one of the things that they've shown me is a lot of people don't want to do it anymore. On the outside, people just don't want to do it anymore. And that's a sad day for us. It's a sad day for us if we get to a point where nobody wants to do this anymore, policing. It's a very important job. And I find that that we have to definitely, I think it's interesting that a security forces member, getting out of the military, because I think that a lot of times people don't know some of the challenges that we go through. I will say one of the biggest things that in these last 4 years, when it comes to mental health, I never used to seek treatment for mental health issues. In 2017, I did, go talk to somebody. I find that we don't realize sometimes the things that take a toll on us until they take a toll. Like, we don't realize that the dam is breaking until it breaks. And I think that when we start to realize that the dam has broken, for our military, it's usually kind of bad for our careers, because we didn't get the intervention ahead of time. So I do always encourage that. I think that making sure that you're okay is so important to the fight, because you can't really help anybody if you're not okay. And then my last parting words of wisdom, I will say this. One of the things that I've learned and that I like and I enjoy the most about the military is people. I do. I think of the background. There's not one person I've met and I'll say, hey, where you from? Because I might go there one day and I might want to know where to eat at or something, But I want to know that. I want to know, and I think that when it comes to us, I think that we do it better than anybody else. I am biased. I think Air Force Security Force is the best career field in the Air Force. And I don't say that because I've seen some of the other ones and I know what they have to do. I look forward to the next part of my life. I will never be able to unlearn or unsee some of the stuff I've seen in security forces. And I would just encourage you all just to continue talking to each other, and that's all I got. Hold on.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Air Force is proud to present our newest retiree, Master Sergeant Hamza A. Khabir, retired United States Air Force.
Woo! All right, go home.